I have 24 Trump 2028 hats. His folks keep sending me.
Now I'm going to do it again. Thank you.
So Trump finally broke Gavin Newsom and delivered a fatal blow to his fledgling, scandal-ridden career characterized by corruption, failure, and deceit. But Trump didn't just break Gavin Newsom spiritually, he also broke him mentally, and more importantly, he broke him politically. Because Gavin Newsom, who once had a 40% chance of being the Democrat Party's nominee for president, has fallen to an abysmal 8% chance. As always, like the video and subscribe to the channel, but let's start with the clip from the White House Correspondents' Dinner that was the straw that broke the Gavin's back.
People have no idea how lucky you are. When I'm gone, you're all going to be broke. Your business model is going to be finished. No, it's true. When I'm not around, you're going to be broke. There's not going to be anybody to report on. Nobody gives a damn about anybody else. The New York Times the other day had 5 stories about me. You know, before I got into politics, in my whole life, I had 7 front page stories. This is years of success. I think 6 were good, 1 was bad. I had 5 stories, 7, 5 good. Yeah, I had a total of 7 stories on the front page of the New York Times. That's not bad. Now I average about 3 or 4 a day. All different topics, all bad, everything bad. But here we are. I mean, here we are. In fact, when I'm finished, I'm going right back to the Oval Office. So I have to be doing okay. But we are all doing good together. That's why tonight, to show just how much I care about the press, and I want to save your ratings, I'm pleased to announce my intention to, and this is somewhat of a scoop, my intention to run for a 4th term as President of the United States. I will be doing that. I will be having an official. In fact, I think I have. Yeah. I won 3 times. Now I'm going to do it again. Thank you. I'm going to do it.
I find it hilarious that Democrats forget that the only president to violate George Washington's 2-term precedent was a Democrat. And he didn't just win a 3rd term, he won a 4th term and caused a near unanimous constitutional amendment to prevent that from ever happening again. But Trump has been on a massively successful trolling campaign against Gavin Newsom for years, attacking his many moral and political failings on social media, raising his blood pressure by constantly sending him Trump 2028 hats like you saw in the intro, and Gavin Newsom, thinking that he was clever, responded by creating a social media team to imitate Donald Trump and created his very own podcast so, you know, he could control the misleading narratives. But his plan unsurprisingly backfired because it turns out the more people got of Gavin Newsom, the less they liked Gavin Newsom. And Gavin's well aware that his imbecilic reactionary behavior to President Trump has led to his political demise not just nationally, but in his own party as well. And he just could not stand Donald Trump putting on the Trump 2028 hat at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, because when a reporter asked him about it, he had a complete meltdown.
I mean, look, Donald Trump's going to do everything to try to steal this election. He was unhinged the other night. That was 25th Amendment stuff. He was unhinged. I mean, thank God for the, broken clock, but even the Wall Street Journal editorial board, the New York Post even recognized that, which is extraordinary. He was unhinged. Unfounded allegations of election fraud. It's madness. But he's setting it up. He's setting you all up. You know what he's doing. He's doing it in plain sight. He's socializing all of this to normalize all of this. And he's going to have masked men in and around polling places, just as he did in Los Angeles last November. BORTAC teams that were sent out before the polls were open, Border Patrol tactical units. He said on that same election day that the election was rigged. No evidence of that. Sent out Department of Justice personnel to find some anomaly, and then went to try to get to the Supreme Court to throw out the election. This guy's not screwing around. That's what he will do this November at scale. He doesn't believe in fair and free elections. He believes only in competitive authoritarianism. He wants to have an election, but he wants the election that Putin has. where he gets 87.3%, and the next guy gets 4.6%. That's what Trump believes. He doesn't believe in fair and free. He doesn't.
So in addition to Gavin's short-lived anti-Trump popularity sinking faster than the Titanic, he and his wife are also under federal investigation. And I'm going to touch on that a little later in this video because the details are shocking. But Gavin's decision to expose himself more to the voters showed his massive lack of self-awareness and revealed his deep, unlikable, and uncharismatic nature. In that clip you just saw, Gavin was giving a press conference touting California's exceptional world-class fire response, which makes it even funnier that during the White House Correspondents' Dinner, Donald Trump made a joke about Gavin Newsom letting the city of Los Angeles burn to the ground. Take a look.
And it's traditional that at least one or two potential presidential hopefuls attend the Correspondents' Dinner, but many of them seem to have really chickened out. I was disappointed that Gavin Newsom didn't show up. He didn't show up. He should be here. But I heard that he recently said that we will lose our country if we don't fight fire with fire. And to be fair, there's only one thing we know about Gavin, and that's that he definitely doesn't want to fight fire with water. He's got a lot of water he never uses. What a disaster. That should have never happened.
And in response to that brutal joke by Donald Trump, Gavin Newsom responded with one of the most well-written, clever, articulate, Shakespearean comebacks of all time. Get ready, ladies and gentlemen. Donald Trump is a son of a bitch. This is the cunning brainchild of his bizarre and embarrassing fight Trump with Trump social media strategy. This contrived I'm a macho man who will stand up to big bad Hitler bravado falls flat on its face because his social media team is run by a bunch of left-wing communist dorks. And while it worked for a second because the discombobulated Democrat Party was looking for any sense of hope and energy, his party now detests him even more because they realize he's an empty suit who stands for nothing, who blows with whatever direction the wind is in, who said on his podcast with Charlie Kirk that he doesn't believe men should play in women's sports because he thought that the tide had shifted more right-wing, and then subsequently retracted his statement once he felt like the Democrat Party had regained its footing. And that's why Gavin, who once had a 40% chance of being the Democrat Party's presidential nominee, has fallen to under 20% on Polymarket. But the reality is much worse than that, because according to this latest poll, Gavin Newsom's chances are now down to only 8%.
Her candidate is for 2028 shows Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez in the lead with 22%. Pete Buttigieg closely behind 21%. And look who's at the end, Kamala with only 5%. Here's AOC's response.
I feel very, humbled by the support of everyday people. When I make decisions about my life, they aren't just rooted in polls. They're rooted in what people need, what is best for the country, and what is appropriate for the moment. And I think that right now, the most important thing before the country right now is for Democrats to win the midterm elections.
And joining us now to react is senior writer for the Washington Examiner and Fox News contributor Joe Concha. I was not as shocked about the AOC one. I was more shocked about Pete Buttigieg, but that's just my opinion. What about you, Joe?
Oh, Pete Buttigieg, and good to see you, Ash, and good to see you, Todd. Gavin Newsom, right, who's been running for president now for about, 6 years, also just in single digits as well.
Gavin Newsom isn't just failing because he's inauthentic and has an extremely unjustifiable and off-putting arrogance. He's failing because he's his own party's worst enemy. Gavin Newsom is a straight white man in a party overrun with third worlders, communists, and transvestites. He is the living, breathing embodiment of what they despise. It doesn't matter how woke he pretends to be or how much groveling he does at their feet that he will implement their agenda. The anti-American party wants somebody who represents them aesthetically, not just ideologically. And even if all that wasn't an issue, he is just too politically toxic. His disastrous failures in California are too numerous and his corruption is too well documented. And the federal investigation into him and his wife are revealing that his corruption isn't just unethical, it's actually prison-worthy.
So you've been following this for a very long time. Why do you think that they're hiring Abbe Lowell at this point?
Well, partly because most of the defense attorneys in California who handle this kind of criminal case already have clients that are in the Newsom's orbit because there are so many corruption probes going on within the state. So we've got Dana Williamson, who has McGregor Scott. We've got Rob Bonta, who's lawyered up with one of the top California criminal defense attorneys. Then we have Winston Chan, who actually bought Gavin Newsom's old Marin County residence, who is representing Andy Dong, who's also part of the Bonta corruption scandal. So he kind of had to go out of state to find someone who didn't have a conflict.
So, Jen, you've gone through a lot of Newsom's financial statements. What's the biggest red flag that you've seen that could potentially be part of this DOJ investigation?
Well, to me, it's his houses that I've talked about on your show before. And then we also have Jennifer Newsom's nonprofits and the people on the board who are getting favorable contracts with the state, who also are appointed to state boards. There's still a lot of links that have to come out through that. I have heard through Adam Housley, another investigative journalist, that it was Jennifer Newsom's communications were wiretapped for 2 years. So that means that every 30 days, these criminal investigators had to go back to a judge and explain why this wiretap should continue. If that all turns out to be true, there's a whole lot of information on a lot of people that they're sifting through over in Sacramento.
The attorney that Gavin Newsom and his wife retained, Abbe Lowell, represented Hunter Biden during his trial for tax evasion and gun possession. And he wasn't able to get Hunter acquitted for those charges, and these seem way more severe. Gavin Newsom is a mob boss who runs an industrial-scale corruption racket in the state of California. Not only did his wife have a wiretap, but people in Gavin Newsom's camp were also wearing wires. And to get that approval for a sitting governor and his wife means the evidence that the prosecution has is damning. And the worst part for Gavin Newsom is this investigation wasn't even started by Donald Trump. It has been ongoing since the Biden administration. And when his wife was asked about that fact, she absolutely broke down on live TV. Take a look.
But is it true that this investigation started during the Biden administration?
I don't know the details. I do know that, Trump was coming after my husband back when Biden was president and Biden was running for the presidency, and I thought it was ironic. So, look, this is a fishing expedition, and I think what you're saying is that it's just been going on for a long time. My husband is Trump's most outspoken critic, and he's the GOP's biggest, I don't know. They've always targeted my husband.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was an MSNBC interview. That wasn't a right-wing Fox pundit trying to get a gotcha on Mrs. Gavin Newsom. This is a witch hunt against my husband because he stands up to Donald Trump. Well, ma'am, wasn't this investigation started under Joe Biden? Well, These people are so unscrupulous and for years have used Donald Trump as cover to hide their own moral and personal failings. Gavin Newsom didn't run for re-election for governor of California because he thought his fake aggressive Twitter strategy was a shoo-in for the presidential nominee. But now everything is falling apart and there is nothing he can do about it. He, like every prominent Democrat, got completely swept away by the Trump train and thought that he was going to use Trump's popularity against him. But blinded by his own arrogance, he overplayed his hand, and now he won't just not be president, he's also going to end up in jail. But let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Turn on those notification bells so you never miss a video. And I will see you guys in the next one.